Okay folks, welcome to another 8-bit face-off kerfuffle. And in this video I'm taking a look at a shmup called Trap. Now this was originally released in 1986 by Alligator Software, programmed by that fine looking gentleman with the teeth up in the top corner, Tony Crowther. Now Tony Crowther did a lot of games, and I think this was probably, I was going to say, his only vertical shoot 'em up that I can remember. Yeah, so anyway, this is the Amstrad one. This is obviously programmed by a different guy, Steph and Nige. Excuse me. So yeah, let's take a wee look and see how this one plays. I think, if I remember rightly, I think the adverts kind of touted it as, you know, if I was going to want to play a shoot 'em up, this is the shoot 'em up I would want to play. There was quite a bit of self-bigging it up. I might be talking shite. I'm just purely going by memory, but it was a long, long time ago. Graphics in this, I've got to say, I do like the explosion. That is excellent. That is up there with Archer McLean's Drop Zone. Very, very bright. Very colourful. Now, I did have a copy of this back in the day for the C64, and I wasn't impressed, if I'm being honest. I wasn't impressed. I always thought that the ship was way too big. And the problem you've got with any kind of home computer is a vertical shoot 'em up needs to be tall and thin. Think of like 1942 or Galaxian. It's got to be vertical. But 8-bit machines, well, 16-bit computers as well, were always horizontal. So the screen ratio, or screen aspect, I should say, doesn't really lend itself that well to shoot 'em ups. And when you've got big, massive, chunky graphics like this, it just kind of adds to the lack of space. But having said that, this is actually alright. Sounds good. It's responsive. One thing I like about the Amstrad, it's got a very, very vibrant colour palette. The Spectrum's the same, not quite the same because it's got fewer colours. The Commodore 64, I know a lot of people give the C64 a bit of a kicking when it comes to sort of colour palette. And yeah, part of it is deserved. The C64 doesn't have the vibrant colours that the Amstrad does. It's really bright. So when you get a decent kind of arcade port or a decent arcade game, it looks the part, because they should kind of jump out at you. So yeah, this is alright. I'm not quite sure with the score. It looks kind of quite ugly, isn't it? Big, huge, big numbers at the side there. Sound is minimal. But yeah, it's an odd game. It is. Tony Crowther, as I mentioned earlier on, he did do. Excuse me, I need an early night. He did do a lot of games. He was a definite pioneer on the C64. But I have to say, looking back at his games now, I don't think they've aged particularly well. But anyway, I'll wait until I play the C64 version. This is the Amstrad one again. This was obviously not programmed by Tony Crowther. Kaboom! Yeah, it's worth it just for that explosion. Now, yeah, you get a choice of ships. I'm not 100% sure what the difference is, apart from aesthetics. Yeah, you've got these numbers at the top. Is that like attributes or something possibly? I don't know. Now, one thing, if you're new to my channel, you're probably thinking, why don't you read instructions, etc., etc., etc. You would be quite right, but one thing that I've never done that I'm aware of in my channel is review games. I play them and tell you what I think of them. I don't review it as such and rate the graphics, what have you. So, yeah, right. Anyway, this is a Spectrum one. Now, I'm delighted to hear that it's got all the little farty, buzzy little sound effects that we're we've become, got to know really well in the Spectrum. Obviously, it had a little beeper type thing, but it's very, very, very Spectrum-esque. Now, one thing I do like about this one is I've just mentioned it about it needs to have a vertical aspect ratio, and this one, more than Amstrad, has kind of done that. It's made the screen quite narrow, and it's actually using smaller sprites. Well, it's not sprites. The Spectrum doesn't have sprites, and I have to say that the scrolling is pretty damn good. Yeah, there's obviously a lack of colour, but the scrolling's really, really silky smooth. Yeah, I'm guessing these numbers at the top must be some sort of a tribute. Please don't watch this video and say that game looks shite, I'm not going to play it, because I'm not very good at most games these days. I'm getting too old, too long in the tooth. Yeah, don't base these videos as to whether a game's any good or not. Yeah, I do actually. I think the graphics and the level layout is different. Certainly comparing this to the Amstrad one. Now I don't know who. Let me see if I can. Let me just see if I can find out who programmed the. Yeah, if I can find out who programmed the Spectrum one. Right, the Spectrum one was coded by Richard Stevenson and David Wright, and a guy, Nigel Spate, did the graphics. So yeah, fair play to them. Fair play, they've done quite a good version. I just noticed at the bottom right, you've got a number of letters. Yeah, A, B. What's that? A, B, and L. I don't know what that is. And you've also got fuel. You'll see the word fuel is actually kind of coloured in, and it kind of changes colour as and when the kind of fuel depletes. Right, okay. I've noticed the A is going down. But I'm not quite sure why. Well, it doesn't change when you shoot one of these little planet things. Ah, there we go. I think that's game over, is it? It certainly is. Right, that was the Spectrum one. Let's take a look at the one that I do remember. And this is the C64 one. Now, one thing that you'll notice right away is the musical track to this. We'll come on to that later on. Swap joysticks, get the right control. There we go. Right, now this is a bit brighter looking than I remember it to be. Aye, okay, right. Colour me, I wouldn't say impressed, but colour me surprised. It looks better than I remember it to be. It's funny how memory and nostalgia, they're a strange thing, because there's certain things that we remember to be amazing, and then when you revisit it 40 years on, you think, what? That was really bad. But then equally, I've played like games that I remember at the time thinking they were complete garbage, and then you play them now and you think they're actually not that bad. Now, I don't know whether it's because you've got this nostalgia thing for the old days, and you've got this sort of like murky little love affair with old games, and you know, you cut it a bit of slack. I don't know. But yeah, equally they're saying there's been games that are great, and I look at them now and I went, But yeah, graphic wise, this is pretty good. It's got good juicy colour. The sound is definitely better. It's got sound effects, whereas the Spectrum and Amstrad were pretty limited. It doesn't have the explosion in Amstrad though. Disappointed. Lose a bonus point there, I think. It kind of reminds me a wee bit like Mooncrester in a bizarre way, just with the kind of baddies. Now this one feels slightly more difficult than the other two. Not that I got very far in either of them. One thing that I'm going to deduct a point for the C64 is, again, like the Amstrad, the ship just feels that wee bit too big. If Tony Crowther had just made it smaller, it would have made it a lot more controllable, I think. And is it my imagination, or are there a lot more enemies on screen in this one? This might actually be a game that I remember it has been rubbish, and playing it now I'm like, it's not actually that bad. It might actually be worth giving it a proper go. I don't know why I insist on putting my initials into these games, because the first thing you do once you've put them in is you switch off. So anyway, that's the C64 one. What I think we'll do now is a little summary. So yep, 3 versions, all quite similar but different as well. Amstrad one, I love how bright it looks. Looks great. It's got an absolutely awesome explosion when you die. So I get to see that special effect quite a lot. The Amstrad graphics are a bit on the huge side, which make it quite difficult to actually play. Sounds, it's alright, quite basic. The Spectrum one, I'm surprised actually how good it is. It seems to it's really smooth. Yeah, movement's fine, scrolling's good. Obviously sound effects are minimal. But yeah, a great little version. You know, you're not going to get much better. The C64 one, I thought that was going to be the worst one, but I think it's probably my favourite version. It's the most colourful. It's got the best sound. Yeah, it's going to lose a couple of points just because, again, like the Amstrad, the graphics the main ship's a bit in the big side. If they'd stuck to what they'd done in the Spectrum, I think it'd have been even better. But yeah, no, I'm actually really surprised at how much I enjoyed playing this game. Like I says, when I remember back, I wasn't impressed. But anyway, listen, the one reason you need to play the C64 is for the musical track. This was programmed by Ben Dalglish, so I'm going to be quiet, let you enjoy it. It's a big one, I think it's about 7 minutes long. So as always, folks, thank you very much for watching.